Hello everybody and welcome back to Creativity in Progress. This is episode 7. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I am really excited about this episode. I'm a little bit nervous, but as I always say, but I am really excited. I really wanted to kind of share things that I've learned as an artist. So over 7 years of being a full-time artist, I feel like I've learned a lot. And when I sat down to write the notes for this podcast today, this recording, I was like, I don't really know what I want to talk about because I've got so many different ideas, and I kind of flip between getting, which one of them is going to be the most important and the most sort of relevant for how I'm feeling in today's moment. Because at the end of the day, like, I could get an idea in my head that I really want to talk about imposter syndrome or perfection paralysis or different topics. But I really have to be in the right headspace to be able to, and almost like feel like I've done enough research and I've done enough sort of really speaking to myself, if that makes any sense at all, to kind of go there and be like, okay, well, how do I actually feel about this? Because I think when it comes to imposter syndrome or some of these topics, we all feel them, we all experience them, but actually trying to navigate those emotions and then put it back into a podcast form or content that is consumable and can be helpful, that's a whole nother thing in itself. And I feel like I really want to be able to do it, or I have to do it the right way, because I don't want it to ever come across wrong or doing it in a way that's going to be detrimental to to advice or decent advice. So I was really caught up this week with working on a masterclass which was of this beautiful shiny dark bay horse, which I was really excited, and I'm really excited to release, but because of that I haven't really had the time to kind of go there with my own thoughts and emotions when it comes to some deeper subjects. So I thought today we could talk about things that I've learned so far as an artist, because, and it's not just like how to draw or anything like that, as you know me, you know I love a deep chat. So that's why the reason why I love doing these like long form content videos, because it's just a chance for me to kind of like share my views and we kind of have a bit of discussion about various different subjects in a really chilled, calm way. And I always feel like when I start these records, I feel really anxious, but after about 5-10 minutes I get really like settled and I can just chat away to you guys. So please bear with me for the first like 5 to 10 minutes of each episode, because I feel like I'm getting like little mini heart palpitations all the time that I'm talking. And I think that's why I'm like in the comfiest, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm in the comfiest hoodie known to mankind. This is so, and it's just a little like comfort thing. Charlie's obviously underneath my desk as he normally is. I've got a cup of tea, and yeah, I just want to kind of share some things that I've learned over the years, the good, the bad, the advice, and my advice to you. And in the hope that it will, as always, kind of help inspire at least one of you to pursue a creative journey, or just give help, maybe you see yourself in the stories that I tell. So I've written down a lot. It was really surprising, because when I started writing the notes for this, so much came to me, and this could be like a 2 or 3 part podcast episode, because I feel that there's a lot, but yeah, as I said, I don't want it to be just like, I learned how to draw, I learned how to use different mediums. These are things that I've learned about myself along the way, and I hope that you find this episode helpful and useful, so I'm just going to get straight into it. The first, and I think the biggest life lesson that I learned over the 7 years of doing this, and I think a lot of these things you figure out quite early on, but I think the whole reason why I wanted to do this episode is to help people feel, or help you feel less alone if you are experiencing any of these things, because they are completely normal, and I think we all experience it. And that's again why I do these podcast episodes, to help some of you feel a little bit less alone. So the first thing I'm going to say is not everyone is going to be on the same page as you. And what I mean by that is not everyone is going to understand why you want to do what you want to do. My parents, as you guys know, are very supportive now, but they kind of leave me to get on with things now, because I tell them that they have to trust me and I'll figure it out. And I always do figure it out. I always find a way. But at the start, they definitely didn't understand why I wanted to do what I do. They didn't see a career path in it. They were like, go and get a proper job, go and write your CV again, start applying for different things. Like, why would you want to sit there? Or can you even sit there for long periods of time and draw? Can you earn money from this? And I think a lot of the time, because the people who are like that, or giving us quote unquote advice, they aren't creatives. My parents are not creative at all. Super corporate, very, very strict, very regimented, very risk averse. And my life is so completely the opposite. Even to my brother, he is, again, pretty much like my parents in that aspect. And there's me kind of just trying to wing it. And I think that's the thing in life. Everyone's trying to wing it, and you've got to do what makes you happy. So not everyone's going to be on the same page as you, and you will get people who are trying to keep you safe. And I think that's the whole thing, that people can only give advice, or they can only see, what am I trying to say? It's almost like they can only see themselves, and if they can't put themselves in the same position as you, then they'll tell you not to do certain things. Whereas they're obviously not you, and they're not in your head, and only you know what you want. So you kind of got to stay true to yourself, and you've got to listen to what you actually want from life. Because like, my parents could have given me all the advice in the world, and could have said, oh, you're not going to make it, or not even be that negative, but maybe you should go and get a part-time job, or do this and do that. But I know myself well enough to know that it's when I'm really stressed and I've got a lot of pressure on me, that's when I really perform well. And not even perform well, but that's when I know that I'll make something work, and I'll pull something out of the bag. Whereas if I listened to them, I kept it all really safe, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have got as far. I wouldn't have built the resilience that I have built over the years of trial and error and failing. So yeah, not everyone's going to be on the same page as you, and that's perfectly okay, because as long as you're staying true to yourself, then that is the main sort of piece of advice that I have for you. The second thing is that it's okay to not have a clue where you want to go. So when I first started this business, I genuinely thought that I didn't think. I just thought, I really like sitting here with cups of tea, lots of biscuits, drawing away, and I thought this was the greatest thing in the whole wide world. And the fact that people were willing to give me a little bit of cash for it as well was absolutely wild, and I was very, very happy. And obviously in time, as I spoke about last week's episode, and I do speak about quite often, if you get really, really good at your craft, and you really practice and you focus and you master that one thing, doors will open. The more you show up, the more you present your work, the more you share things on social media, or the more you market yourself and show the world your work, and you self-publish and do all of those kind of things, then doors will open, and you will find a path, and opportunities will come your way. And you have got to be adjustable and adaptable and fluid with it. You can't just get stuck into an idea and think, I'm going to be a commission-based artist forever, because that it might not happen like that. You could all of a sudden, as soon as you get good at that one thing, I think that you naturally start to look for other things. You look for other ways to get better, and so it's almost like you've ticked that one box. So if you're anything like me, as soon as I feel like I've done something, I'm like, okay, well, let me look for something else now. And it's a really great mindset to have, where you're just being really, really adaptable. So it's really, really okay to not have a clue where you want to go, or not have a 5-year plan, or not have a 10-year plan, or not have a business plan. You don't need any of those things, in my opinion. I think as long as you stay consistent and you are staying true, as I keep saying, to yourself and what you want, then you find your people, and you'll find the way that you want to go with all of this. So the next thing, so number 3, is it's okay to feel inspired by what you see around you, but just stay true to yourself and what you love doing. So what I mean by this is, a lot of the time we will see things on social media, and we might think, like for me, I absolutely adore oil painting. And I have tried over the years so many times to get good at it. I've bought all the brushes, I've bought all the paints, and you'll never see me post any of it online because it's awful and I can't do it, and I don't understand how people paint with oils, and that's arguably because I haven't put the hours in and I don't have time to actually give it my full attention. But I think so often when we feel like we're not achieving things fast enough, or we're not we feel a little bit stagnant, we feel a little bit lost, it's those moments that we look for inspiration elsewhere. So we might go on social media and feel really demoralized, that we aren't potentially where we want to be, or we're having a more sort of like negative day. And I think that's those are the times that you really need to look after yourself and build a healthy boundary with social media or consuming content online. Because if you're anything like me, and it used to be the days when I felt like I was really not achieving as much as I wanted to do with coloured pencil, that I would start to look for a different medium, or I'd see another artist and feel incredibly inspired and go and buy a whole set of pastels or oils or anything like that. But every single time I always came back to drawing, and I always came back to coloured pencil, and I always came back to horses. I tried when I first started this business and I was in the motor trade, I started drawing cars for a while, because as I've said in a previous episode, like I absolutely adore my cars. I just think that I kind of gave it a go because, again, I just wanted to do something a little bit different, but I always came back to the horses because it's the thing that made me happiest. And I think if you can really stick to, if you can find the thing that makes you happy and the thing that you really enjoy doing, and you stick to that, then, as I always say, that consistency will pay off and doors will open. So like for me and the horses, I never thought that I'd be where I am today. Drawing the horses I get to draw, teaching so many of you, having a podcast, working with the clients that I work with. Like, I never had a clue about any of this, and I tried so many different things because of rejection and failing and everything like that. But 8 years on, or 7 years on, I'm still sat here with a load of pencils around me, still drawing horses, and that's wild. So number 4 is you're allowed to change, grow and adapt and move with the times. So it's kind of what I touched on earlier. You have got to be fluid, and as trends change and social media changes and marketing changes and people's buying behaviours change, and also with the economy, you have got to kind of think outside the box a little bit at the time and be quite entrepreneurial with being creative. If it's something you want to do and earn money from, then I do think you kind of have to be very fluid and adaptable, and you can't just think, okay, well, I'm going to be a pet portrait artist and I'm going to be consistently doing this size portrait, and I'm not going to be rigid. I'm going to be quite rigid with my pricing and everything like that, because just to give you, again, try and give you a lot of examples to try and back up what I'm saying. But when I first started, but when I probably about up until about I think I started about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit less than that. It was during COVID, and I had gone from basically being a full-time commission artist, doing some prints here and there, but I was really struggling with Facebook. I felt like Facebook, compared to what it used to be like when I was first started, Facebook used to be a really, really great place to market. It was quite not easy to sell prints, but it was a lot easier to convert and to sell things online than what it is now. It is difficult now. And I was doing okay, but then COVID hit and I panicked because I thought, okay, well, what if people don't have an income? What if people don't have the money to commission me, and there's going to be other things going on? And that's why I started to turn to teaching, because I was like, okay, well, people are going to be sat at home. They're going to have a bit of time on their hands. I have built up quite a following now. I always got inquiries or people asking me whether I teach. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to give it a go. And at first I absolutely hated it. I really, really didn't like having a camera on me all the time, because I felt there was so much pressure, and I really struggled to get the names of the pencils right, because my brain is very ADHD sometimes, and it's very ADHD, and I really struggle with doing things in a certain order, and I just didn't really find the whole process of teaching enjoyable. But now it's something I really love. But I think you kind of have to learn, and you have to learn to like something a lot of the time. Not everything, I'm very lucky with parts of this business that I really love. There's some parts that I don't love so much, and that tends to be more the admin side. But you can learn to love things, and if you know that you can inspire, and you can help, and you can encourage and that other people, then that's the reason why I do what I do. And I think the whole process, of course, fall in love with the process of drawing, and I absolutely love drawing. Don't necessarily love having a camera on me all the time, but I love seeing you guys give my classes a go, and getting the incredible feedback, and seeing the different versions of the things that I teach. Like that, for me, it's that end goal, and it's just so incredible, and I feel so blessed and so grateful to have an online community like that. But the actual filming side of it is really quite arduous, and can be very lonely, and I sit in here in silence a lot of the time just with a camera on me, and where I live and work alone, it can be it is quite difficult. But again, you learn and you change. So you can have, if you want to go down the teaching side of it, then make sure you're regulating the teaching with other things. So every now and then I'll pause, and I'll do a private commission, or I'll do a piece for me, and it allows me to get back into a more flow state of the artwork, where I'm not having to think exactly about what I'm doing every step of the way and explaining it as I go. I can be more in a flow state of just having an audiobook on or a film on in the background, and that almost like resets me. So, but I didn't think that was going to be a thing way back when I first started. I really didn't. I was a commission based artist, and that was that. So you kind of have to be able to learn and adapt and move with the times, and move with buying trends, as I said, in social media, and things like that. On the subject of social media, the next point I've got is social media can be a really lovely place with healthy boundaries. And I know a lot of you have asked for an episode about social media, which is something that I will do. I just need to work out the best way to do it. Again, my little imposter syndrome's kicking in, and I'm like, oh my god, this is terrifying. So what I mean by social media can be a lovely place with really healthy boundaries is I think a lot of us can feel social media can be incredibly toxic. We can see online, we can go on Instagram, say, and see reels, and it, as I've said in previous episodes, you see things and it's like, you should have done this before this time, or you should have done X, Y, and Z by the age of 30, or you need to have like a really healthy diet, or I don't know, whatever happens. Or you might see a piece of artwork or someone doing really well, and I don't know, it can be quite toxic and quite negative. So as I said previously, I tend to use social media for the purposes of work. I take most of my photos I take on my phone, and it's just a quick, simple upload. And apart from checking it a couple of times a day, and again, this is the thing that I try and do, you need to be aware of the way your own brain works. So I know if I check social media first thing in the morning, it can be quite, I can kind of go down a rabbit hole and scroll for way too long, or before I go to bed. So again, it's about having healthy boundaries in place and not becoming a slave to our phones, because that's the thing, we've got our own brains. And I think this is the whole quite the scary side of social media, is the fact that we are so we have our own brains and we have our own thought process, but all of a sudden we've got this tiny little thing here that controls so much of our lives. And I run my entire business from my phone pretty much, and that's wild. But the whole thing is, if you're not careful and you don't put things in place to regulate, then a lot of us can hate social media if we don't get the results quick enough. So, or if we see things online we don't like, or we kind of set expectations to achieve a certain thing and it doesn't happen. So again, I think you need to know yourself well enough and be okay with not having all the answers, and being a little bit more fluid with again with social media. And I think as well, you find platforms that work for you. A lot of the time, like, there's so many platforms out there with Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads now, Pinterest, and so many other, YouTube. There is so many different platforms out there, and I think a lot of the time as artists and creators, we feel like we need to be across all of them, and for the most part, in some cases, yes, we do, and it is important to have a presence on all of them, but you will naturally gravitate to some and you won't necessarily get on with others. For me, TikTok is something that I really, really struggle with. I struggle to stay consistent on it. I don't really understand the platform. It's much more personal. It's much more informal, which is great. But Instagram to me makes sense. It's where I've built my community. I feel safe. I feel happy on there. TikTok is almost like a minefield. And I've got an account on there. I do post every now and then, but it's not something I'm consistent with. Whereas Facebook, Instagram, I go through phases with Pinterest, but you need to realize where the platforms that you enjoy using and that you enjoy sharing content on, because it's not going to be across all of them. So if you know that you like your longer form content, then YouTube might be the platform for you. If you love sharing more personal sides to your story, TikTok would be a great place for you. If you like sharing the artwork and the more visual side of it, Instagram. And Facebook. And Facebook's a great one for building community, and Instagram stories are a great place for building community as well. Or maybe if you want to go on the podcast circuit. But you need to find the things that work for you. And yeah, you don't have to spread yourself so thin and feel like you're doing everything all at once, because you won't do anything to the best of your ability. And again, I think this is what it comes down to. The same with learning your craft and doing the right thing with that. If you get really good at one thing, then opportunities will kind of evolve from it. It's a bit like what I said earlier. As soon as you tick one box, then you'll be looking for the next box. So when I get really comfortable with Instagram, then maybe I'll start dabbling again in TikTok. But for the most part, I really love and I feel very happy on the platforms that I choose to use. So, and it's about creating those healthy boundaries around it, so you're not becoming a slave to social media or your phone, and things like that. And the next piece of advice that I have is, you don't need to have everything perfect to start. You just need to start. And again, I've spoken about this in previous episodes. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to have all of the equipment. You don't need to have all the pencils. If you like creating, then just create. And it doesn't even have to be drawing. If you like baking, anything that regulates yourself, I think you need to ask yourself sometimes, like, why do we like creating? What is that? For me, it's that sense of calmness that it gives me. It's that sense of clarity. It gives me space to think and process emotions and everything like that. And again, I'm very, very lucky and glad and grateful that I can share everything with an online community and you all, and it's lovely. But you don't need to have everything in place to start. You don't need a website. You don't need a camera. You don't need all of these things. As I said earlier, I literally take all my content photos on my phone. I know people that create YouTube videos from their phone. You don't need to have everything perfect. Like, I had it in my head for so long that I wouldn't be able to start regularly creating YouTube videos until I had this room perfect. But the reality is, no one cares as much as you do. Like, they really don't. So if you want to do it, just start, and you'll learn as you figure it out as you go. The next piece of advice I have is, not every month is going to be amazing, and you kind of have highs and you might have lows, and you might have months where you feel like you're really, really struggling, and you'll have great months where you feel like this is amazing. But you kind of have to learn this is not just as a creative, also as a self-employed person, that you're probably going to have monetary seasons. So summer might be a little bit quieter. Winter is normally quite busy with Christmas and Black Friday and various different things. You know, there's a really great optimum time for sales because there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of people looking to buy things as presents. Whereas summer, most people are going on holiday, they're a little bit more like relaxed. The kids are like on school holidays, and maybe they're not looking as they would do at Christmas. So really realize where marketing opportunities are, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Black Friday, Halloween even. Look at trends on social media. Like Inktober is something that you can create a whole load of drawings or inks or whatever, and then build up momentum. But you need to be aware of the monetary seasons, and not every month is going to be great. And if you have a quieter few months, or if you have a really busy few months, then you need to regulate that money over a period of time. Because I think that's the thing with being self-employed, especially if you use your artwork as your full-time income. I've obviously, as soon as I pay my bills each month, I put money into savings because I don't know what the next month's going to bring a lot of the time. Obviously, I have things in place now, 7 years down the line, for different income streams. I've got different means and ways of making money, but it doesn't always work out. So I've got a contingency fund that I build on each month, just in case. So yeah, just be aware that not every month is going to be amazing, and it's okay to have quieter periods. There is times when I didn't earn any money for about 6 months, but then I'd get a commission, and of course those are the times I was still working in a pub. So realize where your boundaries are, realize where your baseline is when it comes to finances. Can you make your baseline through your artwork? Do you need to go and get a part-time job? Are you doing this on the side? And just be very true to where you are right now, and don't put any extra pressure on yourself to achieve certain things, because it's when you start applying that pressure then things tend to get harder, and you'll start looking and grasping more for sales, and that's the time when things don't really happen. It doesn't really happen organically and naturally, and it can look a little bit forced. So yeah, just kind of take yourself back to baseline and figure it out from there. So the next point I have is that, and again, it sort of leads on from that, and it's some of the monetary seasons is in time, and you don't need to have it all figured out straight away, but in time, figure out ways to generate a range of incomes to help support you. So as I said, when I first started, I just did commissions. I then dabbled in prints and got royally screwed over with all of that. Got rejected from publishers, as you guys know through the stories I've told. Started doing some teaching, started doing some mini commissions even, because I figured that most people they love their animals, and I could do a mini commission for a couple of £100, which is a lot cheaper than my bigger commissions, and those sold really well, and I was starting getting really busy with those. So again, just think outside the box, think about your other clients and the people and the business you want to have as well. It's not just about your clients, but think about the way you want to position yourself in the market. What's your USP, your unique selling point? Where do you want to position yourself within the market? Are you more sort of like luxury art, luxury creative? Are you more country? Not that isn't luxury as well, but are you more like wanting to go into gifting and homeware? Are you more commissions and pet portraits? Are you more like greetings cards? And figure out exactly what you kind of want. And as I said at the beginning, you don't need to have it all figured out, but just have a rough idea about the way you want to position yourself, and what different income streams can you generate from that. So if you have this idea in mind, say if you wanted to be like a luxury coloured pencil artist, so I use the term luxury quite loosely, but you could do high-end commissions. You could also do, again, some smaller commissioned work. Maybe you've built a following and you get a bit of interest to teach, so you could do like some teaching. You could do online teaching. You could do some longer form YouTube content. And again, in time, these platforms and these different income, these different sort of like little pockets to your business can start generating you money. And again, I know a lot of you do want me to talk about income streams, and I will do it at some point, but again, it's just me trying to figure out the best way to approach these things without it coming across as being the wrong way. So yeah, just figure out different ways to generate income. And again, you don't have to target them all and hit them all straight away. You can do it in time, and it can really be something that over a period of X amount of years you will build up on. So as I said, whether you can go being commissioned to then going off and do some teaching and maybe getting monetized on YouTube, and not all of those things are going to generate the same level of income, but it's nice to have different things. So say for me, for example, if I don't get any commission inquiries for a while, it's okay, because I have got Patreon, I've got my masterclasses that I use, and if I have a quieter month with those, then I've got commissions, or I've got the podcast, or not that this is monetized, but I've got YouTube, and I've got different things in place, or there's different, I know my business and myself well enough to kind of know different avenues to target to generate more money, and to sort of like pivot and go, okay, well, maybe I should utilize that aspect and that income stream for a little while. And again, it's just being adaptable and fluid, and not having it to be so strict and regimented, because it's almost like practicing the art of detachment a little bit with it. You don't need to have it all figured out. And as long as you are, as I said, keeping to your baseline, you know exactly how much money you need to earn. It doesn't really matter too much where that comes from. As long as you're obviously staying true to yourself and your business, and showing up for your clients. So, and again, that leads on to my next point, which is to be really honest with yourself about where you're currently at and whether you're happy or not. So there's no point in getting really, really, really stressed about your business and to try and hit your monetary baseline targets if you're not happy. And I think that is a really, really hard question to ask yourself. And you have to be really, really true and honest. There were times when I would leave the pub years ago, and then 3 months later realised that this business wasn't as lucrative, or wasn't doing as well as what I hoped. So I had to go back to the pub and ask my job back, basically, just for a few months, or or to go and do different things to try and generate a little bit more money to help support it. And yeah, so you just be really, really honest, because we're like with yourself, because it's all very well and good having all these big goals and having these things in mind, but if you're not there yet, then you need to be really brutal with yourself. And again, as soon as you take that pressure off, I promise you things will start changing. And you'll be able to see things a lot clearer. But sometimes when we've got this pressure on us, and it's like a big cloud, and you can't really see where you want to go or what you want to achieve. Whereas if you take that pressure off, all of a sudden things become a little bit lighter and looser, and you'll be able to be a lot more fluid with things. So my next point is, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is all part of the journey, and I actually quite enjoy failing now, and that sounds really sick, but I really do, because it gives me a chance to learn something from it. And as I've said in previous episodes, I am the sort of person that no matter how bad a situation is, and no matter how bad I feel about something, if I can see the positive, if I can take one positive thing on it and put a spin on it, then that's great, and I'll cling on to that. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because they're all part of your journey and all part of being a creative and figuring things out as you go. And don't be afraid to fail, because as I said, it is all part of the journey. And you just need to, that's the way we learn, and that's the way we grow. And nothing was built overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day, and people make mistakes, and that's part of being human, and you're not going to have it all figured out. And that's perfectly okay. And you're allowed to change, and you're allowed to adapt, and things to be messy, and for you to sit on the floor and cry, because we're human, and that's normal. So the next point, and again I've talked about it in our previous episode, is focus on falling in love with the process, and the rest will follow. So a bit like what I said earlier about really, really staying true to yourself, falling in love with creating, for the feelings and the thoughts that it gives us, the calmness and being present in the moment. Even like, it sounds silly, but the weight of the pencil in my hand, like when I pick up a pencil, let me find like one that's like pretty, oh, it's gonna fall on the floor, but like that weight in my hand just gives me like, I don't know, it's just really, really like, it just calms me. I don't know what it is. It like calms my nervous system. And when I put pen to paper, no, it's not pen to paper, but pencil to paper in this aspect, I just feel like such a sense of just the weight like of the world's been lifted off my shoulders a little bit. And it's, again, I really love the therapeutic journey, and I think that's why I really like dabbling in graphite and doing some grayscale work, because again, we don't have to focus on color. We can kind of come away from that and just focus on building up the layers, and it's that color pencil can be incredibly therapeutic to build up the layers with. So yeah, fall in love with the process and the rest will follow. As I said in previous episodes, you don't need to have it all figured out, because as long as you get good at that craft and you get good at that one thing, then doors will open and opportunities will come your way. And if you're consistent, then that consistency always pays off. So my next point is, it's okay to reevaluate and take a step back. And I mean this in terms of things like pricing. So if you're a commission-based artist, and I think a lot of us are, or that's how we started, a lot of us started with commissions. Years ago, I started charging £20 for an A4. Now I charge £500-600, and that's kind of like a starting point. But a few years ago, my pricing was higher. I started at about 800, but I soon realised, and I was still getting booked out for that, but not to the same amount, but it was a lot more. I was doing a lot more shows then, and I was putting myself out there a lot more, and my work was visually in front of people. Whereas then COVID hit, and a lot of people started going online, and I was marketing myself online, and I was trying to teach, and I didn't get as many commissions as I was getting before. But because I generated an income stream through other aspects, I wasn't so needing the commission work. So I did actually lower my prices again, just to make them a little bit more affordable, just because I just wanted to keep my commission work ticking over. And I haven't raised them. I haven't raised my prices in about 3-4 years. So I reevaluated back then, and I thought, okay, well, I've got different income streams now. I really like doing commission work, but I don't want to do too many. Me personally now, I take on about 3 or 4 a year. I really don't do that much commission work. But I really love the commission work that I do. And again, maybe now I could be in the position where I could up my prices a little bit, but I feel comfortable where they are. I like being able to, I feel like I would pay my prices for a coloured pencil drawing, knowing the hours that it takes, knowing the time involved of Charlie. I would pay that. Whereas I think sometimes when I was charging a bit more, I felt almost guilty. And I can't explain it, because I don't want anyone to ever feel guilty about what they're pricing or how they're pricing their work, but it just didn't feel like it aligned to my business or what I wanted or my clients. So again, I reevaluated, I took a step back, I got different income streams in place, I lowered my pricing a little bit, and I feel a lot less pressure on myself. And again, it's taking that pressure off. And maybe that's my own little inner demons in my head being like, you're not good enough to charge us. I don't know. I don't want to explore that at the moment. But I'm very content and happy with my pricing. So yeah, what I'm saying is like, take a step back and reevaluate sometimes. And it's okay to feel like you're almost taking a step back if you're not getting that busy, and you maybe want to do like a sale every now and then where you offer 20% off portraits, or you want to offer a lower price point portrait, whether it's a mini one or sort of like £100 say, or whatever your pricing is. Just find a almost like not a cheaper alternative, but don't be so, as I keep saying, so rigid with like having set prices. People might disagree with me on that, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, but this is the things that I've done and the things that have worked for me over my years of being an artist. And the last point I've got is about finding your people and and this kind of loops back to right at the start where I said not everyone's going to be on the same page as you, because you will find your people in time. So trust the process and don't let anyone else dictate your life to you. It's taken me years to find people who really I feel like I'm really aligned to and that really understand me, and it's okay. It's okay to leave people in the past. It's okay to leave people where they are, and if they don't fit your life anymore. And I know that's really, really brutal and that's really hard, and sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. But again, it's about putting healthy boundaries in around yourself, your work, protecting your energy, because people who don't understand your work, they might bring you down. They might be a little bit more negative, but it's because they don't understand a lot of the time, and they can't see they can't understand something they don't experience, and that's okay. And it's okay to leave those people in the past, and in time you will find your own people, whether that's online through your own sort of social media, your community. As I've said in the past, I've met some incredible people through my artwork, and even like in my personal life now, you change and you learn, and it's okay to fail and go through toxic, horrible relationships that teach you so much about yourself, because it's those things that make you who you are, and it's who you are that helps run your business. And you will find your people, and your life and your experiences and the things that you've done will help you find your people. And the more you understand, the more you learn and to trust yourself, then the more that people will resonate with you, and you will find, so keep saying, you will find your people. But so those are like, I don't even know how many points that was quite a lot, and I really hope that I've kind of touched on and covered some helpful things, and it's been a little bit insightful, and maybe hopefully a little bit helpful. I feel like my brain, I always say, I've got a phrase at the moment which I really love, which is my brain isn't braining, and it's definitely been a few of those days this week where I've just really, really been struggling with like sleep still, and my brain just hasn't been braining. So I really wanted this episode to be a little bit more lighter, that's terrible English, a little bit lighter, and to just be a little bit more of a chat, really. So I'm sure in years to come I will sit down with you again and I'll tell you a gazillion things that I've learned. But thank you so much for being here. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I know a lot of you have asked me to cover things like pricing, and it's something that I will cover and I will talk about, but I don't want this podcast to become a business help podcast, because I'm not in anyone else's head and I'm not in anyone else's life, and I can only talk about my own experience and the things that I've kind of achieved and experienced through being the creative that I am, and that's not always going to make sense and be the same as what anyone else does with their business. So it's hard to talk about pricing, because some people will say like, oh, I don't know why I'm not making any sales, or I'm really struggling with getting commission work. But again, you need to look at the things that you're doing and the marketing strategies you're putting in place. And I'm not a business coach, I can't help with that aspect. So, but I will try and talk about pricing within other episodes. But what I really want this podcast to be is mindset. It's about helping be more positive. It's about creating that positive, safe space to have a little bit of an uplifting, casual chat on a Monday morning with you all. And so that's all I've kind of got to say on the matter. But of course, always open to suggestions and feedback. So thank you so much for being here. Really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I feel like I've spoken a lot, and it's been like 45 minutes now, so I am gonna leave you to get on with your day. But I hope you're having a lovely day, whatever you're up to and wherever you are in the world. I can't believe how global this thing is, by the way. Like, it's mad, the fact that some of you are listening from like all corners of the world, and it's just me sat in my little house. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely day, and thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this crazy journey, and I will see you and speak to you next week. Take care, and as always, lots of love. Bye.